Izzy, it's time to relax. Maybe slip into maybe slip into something a little bit more comfortable. Turn the lights. Listen to the 30-minute quiz show.
Has the Earth moved for you recently? It could do in the very near future.
We'll tell you about the scientists who are getting cocky about their COVID cure.
Talking of cocks, we'll wonder about their latest sausage stuffing.
And due to popular demand, we reopen our Agony Aunt mailbox.
So join us on Planet Satire for the almost 30-minute quiz show.
Vroom! Hello.
Hiya, you all right?
Not too bad. I've got a microphone stuffed in my face.
Oh, we've gone all high-tech now.
After last week when we had 2 cups and a bit of string.
So we've got a couple of proper microphones. We know which one's yours, Mark, because you get the...
I've got the yellow sock.
And if you look at it, it's quite stained. I've got the nice, crisp, fresh
Excuse
blue
me,
one.
what? I've only used it for 2 minutes. They're not my stains.
No, I've no idea what I got from the shop or the store, but the one that you got is definitely the stained one.
And it came from China.
That's very interesting,
Something
possibly.
stained from China. Thanks,
Possibly.
mate. So this is my last show.
Yeah. I don't think people can hear because these are particularly localized microphones, but in the background, we're doing this again in my garden. In the background, we've actually got neighbours in their paddling pool, the
Noisy
kids,
little bastards.
because they're off school.
Yes.
And there's no programs for them because of our
Corona.
old friend Corona, COVID-19. How's your...
Although some of them have been off school since March, so you think they'd be like in prison now or somewhere.
Every country has got its own rules with regard to the kids and school. Our kids are older, but where do you stand on all of this?
I tend not to stand on children. It's something that's frowned upon. Where do I stand on what? The variety of rules?
Not just the variety of rules, I guess more what you do with kids. Should kids be in school? Is school safer for them? Is it not safer for them? Should they go to holiday camps, at this time of year, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere?
The trouble at the moment is if you say to kids there's nothing arranged for you, they'll just be out in the parks and on the streets, depending on where you are, close to each other, and no one will be controlling what they're doing. Children being children don't necessarily follow every rule. So actually to have a structured program makes sense, but you just have to have enough people working in that program who know what they're doing.
What's the magic number for numbers of kids who should be in a program?
My one out of the house, so I can play on the Xbox and he's not there all day.
That's all that counts.
Absolutely.
No, there must be, everyone's saying, 2 meters or 6 feet or 15 kids or having them in capsules.
Some countries have gone to 1 meter.
Right. Well, the kids are smaller, so they don't need as much room.
Or it's drier and they don't spit as much.
I don't know. It is still such a guessing game, the whole thing.
I think we're at that stage now where people thought we're over it. They've all come out there, they're all trying it, and they're all about to see it come back again. Some countries are already there. Other countries are still enjoying their freedom, but essentially you can't carry on life as normal. I don't think anyone's sort of proved that. Even the Swedes and the Dutch who are like,
right,
we're going to do it differently.
Well, you could be like the Iranians, whom the BBC proved this week are lying about their second wave numbers.
I think a lot of countries are. They're like, oh, you were hit by a bus suddenly, even though you've not been on a bus in 10 years. We'll put bus by your name.
Keep the stats down.
You were too dead to actually tell me how you died, so we'll write bus.
Health stats provided by the National Tourist Agency.
Yeah. I mean, on a positive note, there are now, I think, 5 companies with trials of vaccines on like final stage
Serious
trials.
ones, yeah.
And 1 or 2 of them are actually already manufacturing the vaccine. They're so confident that it works that come the end of the trial, they'll be able to distribute it. So the best estimates are beginning of 2021, late 2020, countries will be able to start vaccinating and getting back to normal.
I once went for a university interview at Oxford.
Did you?
Yeah, I know. It's shocking, isn't it?
Oxford Polytechnic.
No, the big one. The big one.
You didn't get in, though, because you and I went to university somewhere other than Oxford.
You want to know the truth? A cousin, my mum's first cousin, said, I will get you into college X with a 2E offer. In other words, just by interview, and you don't need to get really high grades in your A-levels, although obviously it's expected.
Those 2Es.
No, I said, well, I only just got the 2Es. I said, I'm not prepared to do that. I think it's morally wrong. And B, what happens if I let you down? What happens if I get in, go and study law, which is what I wanted to do, and I screw up, and it's going to bounce straight back to you. So I didn't do it.
You do know you would have retired by now.
I know.
Yeah,
An Oxford law degree.
And you'd be in the pool and not those frigging kids over there that are making the noise.
So what we do on this show, we ask 5 questions about current affairs. We give you a moment to think about them, and then we dissect them in our own inimitable way. And question number 1 comes from the mouth of the venerable Mark.
Is it? How do you pronounce inimitable?
It came
That
out
was
once.
brilliant.
Came out once, won't come out again.
Okay, question number 1. The Natural Disasters were a professional wrestling tag team who competed in the World Wrestling Federation between 1991 and 1993. One member was called Typhoon. Who was the other?
That was like a question straight out of Mastermind.
Well, out of Wikipedia with copy and paste, but yeah.
Question 2. What is a snickerdoodle?
Question 3. Outside of Google and YouTube, what is the most visited website in the world?
Question 4. What is the name of the woman in charge of the handmaids in The Handmaid's Tale?
Question 5. Which soup is traditionally the cure for all ills?
The answers after this.
This episode of the Almost 30-Minute Quiz Show is brought to you by Story Slam, the award-winning storytelling game for the whole family. We guarantee you'll love it. Story Slam. Find us on Amazon.com.
Question number 1. The Natural Disasters were a professional wrestling tag team who competed in the World Wrestling Federation between 1991 and 1993. One member was called Typhoon. Who was the other?
Well, first of all, it's a ridiculous name for a tag team unless they were meant to be comical and useless, if they're called Natural Disasters.
Well, they were more just their immense size. They were like wonders of the world, but they weren't wonderful. They
just dropped on people.
Yeah. They had that ability. I mean, They were very round people.
All right, they drop on people. What was the name of the one you said? Typhoon?
Typhoon.
So,
Formerly known as Tugboat.
Really?
Yes.
Was that in an adult wrestling?
Yes. But he dressed up as a sailor with a little sailor's hat.
Oh,
Thankfully, they got him out of that.
That type of tugging.
Yeah.
Got you. Then, not going to make the jokes about the submarine. Hurricane, tornado, whirlwind. No?
No. It's less wind-related. It's more from the name natural disaster. Think
Natural
of another.
disasters. Oh, wait a minute. Tsunami. Nobody knew in the West knew the name tsunami in the 1990s. But what about that?
No, but it's related.
Related to tsunami.
It's really the cause of tsunami.
Flooding. No, that's the effect, the after effect. Earthquakes.
Correct. He was known as Earthquake. He Earthquake and Typhoon were 2 enormous wrestlers. I think between them, they were about 420 pound each, which weighs in at about 190, 200 kilos.
That's
Just
impressive.
huge, round, fat people. In modern wrestling, they're all very muscly, but This is from the day when you could be just a big fat bastard.
Is it worth looking at?
What, wrestling?
Them on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll go. I don't like violent sport.
It wasn't particularly violence back then. It was
You're
more...
squelching people, that's my
Did you ever
opponent
used to
out
go
the
to
way.
wrestling?
What?
Did you ever go to wrestling?
I've got a feeling when I was very little, my granddad took me.
I went to see Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks at Ilford Town Hall.
So, I'll tell you a story about Giant Haystacks, shall I? I've got a couple of stories. First of all, he drove a Merc. The reason I know this was he lived on my street for a number of years.
And I lived around the corner at one point.
He, as far as I know, pulled out the front seat of the Merc,
he did.
sat in the back, and drove it that way.
You've never seen a car this low to the ground.
I will tell you an even funnier story. My dad, God bless him, who did box during the war, and I believe fought against and beat the cricketer Freddie Truman during the war.
Not at cricket.
No, at boxing.
Okay.
In the RAF.
Sanction match, or just gave him a good kicking round the back of the heart?
So my dad was a strong guy, but he was slender and just, an average guy. My next door neighbours I really didn't like. Had a very bad relationship with me, and they were sort of effing and blinding at me over the garden fence or through the garden fence. And one of the mates was there, and he started with a real torrent of racial, sexist abuse. I mean, it was really horrible stuff that he came out with. And I said to him, I'm going to set my dad on yours. Little did I know his father was Giant Haystacks.
Oh, dear Lord.
True story.
That's why you moved.
Absolutely. One of the advantages of the COVID-19, there are advantages, is that generally the world has become quieter. the ground is making less artificial noise. If you think about it, there are fewer trains, there are fewer jackhammers, drilling into the earth. And what that has meant is not only that our noise pollution has gone down, but that seismologists, experts in earthquakes, are getting truer readings of what's actually happening in the earth in terms of earthquakes and seismic movements and tectonic plate movements. They're getting a better reading now than they have in years and years.
I've got that glazed look I normally have when we talk science on the show.
Okay, so
but
go on.
have you ever been in an earthquake?
Yes, I was just the other side of the wall where we are now, my first ever real earthquake. I was asleep, I woke up, and I thought I was in the middle of sexual intercourse. Because
And
the
then you
pulsing,
knew it was a dream.
the pulsing of the earth was very much like an ejaculation. And I said that with a straight face. Why are you asking?
No, now I know about the stains on the mic. No, I was in an earthquake in Manchester. I mean, there aren't.
That explains why it's a pile of shit.
It wasn't a large earthquake, but it's really odd. I was sat in this office in Salford overlooking Old Trafford, and it started to shake, and the room really, really moved, and you thought, oh my God, what's this? And you couldn't explain it because it's not natural to be in Manchester, and sadly Old Trafford was still standing at the end of it. But
So since we're almost out of time for this section, let me tell you, have a guess, right? How many earthquakes were there yesterday? And just to give the people an idea of where we are, yesterday was August the 3rd. How many earthquakes do you think?
well, I remember reading somewhere that there were about 10 to 20,000 earthquakes a year, most of which people don't really even know about. They're so minor. So divide 20,000 by 365 before somebody writes in.
I can't do that.
No,
It's like
I
less
can't.
than 100.
Yeah, it's probably about
Okay.
70 a day.
There were 282 earthquakes yesterday, 162 of which were less than 2 on the Richter scale. 5 quakes yesterday alone, over 5 on the Richter scale. The biggest ones were in the Mariana Islands, New Zealand, of course, northern Chile, New Zealand again, the Mariana Islands again. And
Chile
then-
is the home of the largest earthquake ever, 9.6 on the
Look at
Richter.
you. So there are certain places that we know, we mentioned tectonic plates, where these happen over and over again. And where am I building up to with this? If you think COVID-19 is bad, and I'm particularly addressing people in California, but not just, listen to this. There have been a series of earthquakes that hit Ridgecrest last year.
Sounds like a very nice suburb.
Absolutely. There is now belief amongst scientists, and this has just been published in the Bulletin of the Seismological Society of America.
Read it every night.
They believe that the 2019 Ridgecrest earthquakes make the chances of a serious quake along the nearby Garlock Fault even more likely. And if a big enough earthquake hits the Garlock Fault, that is likely to trigger the San Andreas Fault. And they're saying that the chances of there being that type of cataclysmic event in the next 12 months from this week are 1 in...
2.
No, that would be a little bit ridiculous. 1 in...
30.
1 in 87.
But then they said, Bill Gates said a few years ago, there was a pandemic coming, like a once-in-a-century pandemic. What the hell did he know?
Well, exactly. So if he's right, who knows what's going to be. So, guys, enjoy what's going on right now with COVID, because the end of the world could very well be nigh for you. And now we'll take a break.
You can listen to the almost 30-minute quiz show on Stitcher, Castbox, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and all great podcast providers. Subscribe now and write us a lovely review.
Mark, dear Mark, question number 2. What is a snickerdoodle?
Is it a dog?
Which type?
Like a weird breed between a Mars bar and a poodle?
Very good. Do you remember when we used to call them marathon and not Snickers in the
We did
UK?
that in a show.
Oh, we talked about it, didn't
Yeah.
we? You're right.
It was a quiz question.
That's because we have no life and just sort of
We're at that
regurgitate
age
the
now
same-
where, in a few years' time, it will just be the same. Did you see that? Yes.
Yeah.
You told me about that yesterday. I know.
Do you know in a few years' time it'll be, yeah. Anyway, what is a snickerdoodle? Do you know? It's not a dog.
It's not a dog. It sounds like something you eat with the word snicker in it.
Correct. But it's got no Mars bar links.
Is it some sort of ice cream sundae, like a Knickerbocker Glory?
Oh God, I used to love those with the cherry on the top. The cherry on the top
I
was the
preferred
most.
a chocolate sundae with nuts. I didn't like it. It was too fruity.
Yeah, it was too healthy. What about a banana split?
Oh, I loved a banana
Oh,
split. But did you have whipped cream?
yeah.
See, if I can distract long enough, I won't have to answer what a snickerdoodle
It is a cookie,
Ah.
a cinnamon-based
You
cookie.
mean biscuit?
Basically. Yeah, biscuit. But I think it's predominantly an American
It is.
thing. I think my missus used to have them years ago.
We're talking about snickerdoodles because we're up to our news roundup. And the most important bit of news is this. Working from home adds up to more spent on tea and biscuits.
Ah, that's where the link is.
Yeah. Britain's shoppers are spending millions more on tea, coffee and biscuits as the cost of working from home starts to add up. Apparently, in the 4 weeks to July, Britain spent an extra £24 million on tea and coffee and another $19 million on biscuits.
Wow. So we're talking, what, $30 million? More than $30 million.
More than £40 million extra
Yeah.
just in those 4 weeks
So
spent on
It
biscuits.
tells you how much money companies, offices are saving.
And how fat people are getting at home.
So I bought biscuits today. I went into IKEA just to buy drink and digestives.
Have you put them together? Do they come with instructions? But the most important fact is take-home alcohol sales are up 41% in that period.
In the UK,
Yeah.
drinking? No shit. This is incredible. A Turkish televangelist by the name of Mukahid Chihad Han.
Can you say that again? Sorry, I didn't quite get that.
I think it's Mukahid Chihad Han. I don't think it's
Oh, okay.
Mujahid. I think Mukahid.
Sorry to our Turkish listeners.
He is a Muslim televangelist, which is relevant in this case because he is quoting the Quran and hadiths and so on. And he suggests that if a man masturbates,
Sorry, what? Say that louder for the neighbours.
masturbates,
The kids can't hear you in the pool.
if a man masturbates, they will find their hands pregnant in the afterlife.
Pregnant hands.
Pregnant, it's like a punishment-y thing. So the serious side of this is that the Quran doesn't really call out wanking, but there's dispute within the hadiths as to whether it is actually haram, forbidden, or whether it is a lower level of just something that is not appropriate. But this guy says you'll get pregnant fingers if you do it too much.
How do you get what happens? Does your hand give birth after 9 months?
While you contemplate that, shall we move on to the next news story?
Talking of playing with your bits, we go to Israel now, where the Israelis and a company called Innovator are working with an adapted form of a pill called Aviptadil. I can never do it with these drugs, which can cause better health while you've got COVID-19. It causes an improvement in your lungs and your blood oxygen, but hard evidence is still needed.
Deary
But
me.
what is Aviptadil?
Go on.
It's a tablet for erectile dysfunction.
Oh.
I want to know how they tested that out and found that one. Excuse me, sir. Your tray on your lap is going to move a little while we give you your tablets.
I wonder what effect it has on female patients.
Mind boggles.
Now, if you think all of that was weird, we're about to bring you what, for Mark and me, I think is one of the weirdest stories of the year, which did a bit of the rounds in the United States, funnily enough, particularly in the left-wing media, because it's a chance to make fun of President Trump. A Houston doctor by the name of Stella Emanuel. Yes, you're going to say something?
It sounds half wedding dress designer, half porn star. That.
So she has said that hydroxychloroquine, and I don't know how I pronounce that, but
The wonder cure.
yes, the wonder cure works, and she suggested to some extent face masks aren't necessary. No, nothing exciting there.
Not to some extent. She basically said, you don't need them because this is the wonder cure
Right.
that cures all.
But the fascinating thing about all of this is that Donald Trump Jr. called her video in which she makes these statements a must-watch, and Donald Trump himself retweeted this video. Now comes all the weird stuff. Okay, so she's into
Hydroxychloroquine,
Well done, thank
Thank
you.
you.
10 out of 10. But she holds some rather...
which is 4.4 kilos.
She,
£10. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just-
she holds some rather interesting other views. Do you want to start us off, or should I?
Well, apparently she thinks that the government is run in part not by humans, but reptilians and other aliens.
She's claimed that gynecological problems like cysts and endometriosis are in fact caused by people having sex in their dreams with demons and witches.
Facebook took down some of her earlier posts. Emmanuel responded in her own way, declaring that Jesus Christ would destroy Facebook servers if her videos weren't returned to the platform. She also said that scientists have a plan to install microchips in people and develop a vaccine to make it impossible to become religious. They found the gene in somebody's mind that makes you religious, and now they can vaccinate against it.
She's also talked about a supposed Illuminati plan hatched by a witch to destroy the world using abortion, gay marriage and children's toys. And she claims that DNA from space aliens is currently being used in medicine.
Pokemon are demons from the East. The Magic 8 Ball is a psychic. But the best bit of all is at the end. Emmanuel has alleged that masks of all kind are superfluous because she says COVID-19 can be easily cured with it's my turn now. Hydroxychloroquine. But on her Facebook video advertising a clinic, Emmanuel has said anyone seeking treatment should wear a face mask before entering my clinic. Says it all.
Oh, that's bloody hilarious.
Philip, what's so funny?
The almost 30-minute quiz show. Listen, Lizzie.
You're right. That's freaking awesome. Subscribe today.
Yeah.
Question number 3. Outside of Google and YouTube, what is the most visited website in the world?
Pornhub.
By you?
Ex-hamster.
No.
It's not pornography?
You're barking up the wrong tree, and dogsex.com is not the one either.
Okay. What did we say? You said YouTube and Google.
Google.
It's not going to be AOL or something like that. They're very passé.
Not for 20 years.
Give me a clue.
It isn't one you or I probably even know exists.
Women's thing? Kids thing?
No. Think geographically.
Weibo or one of those.
You're getting there, yeah. You're in the right country.
Wusu.
I'm going to let this go on for minutes.
Yeah.
Tmall.com.
Oh, I don't know that. How do you spell it?
Tmall, which is the consumer end of Alibaba, or AliExpress, as it's known.
What language is it in?
Chinese. It's short for Taobao Mall.
Okay.
And it's a platform for local Chinese and international businesses to sell to consumers in mainland China, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan.
We've been searching the internet, or maybe we just stole this idea from somebody else, and we found some rather interesting names, domain names, across the web. And of course, knowing Mark and myself, quite a few of them are titillating.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. This is the first one. A company called IT Scrap, and their website is itscrap.com.
Clever.
IT Scrap, it's crap.
So Who Represents became whorepresents.com.
The pen retailer Pen Island is penisland.com.
And Experts Exchange is the expertsexchange.com.
Speed of Art is speedofart.com.
North of Boston Jewish Singles became No BJs. And how true is that?
Go Tahoe North is Gotahoe North.
Les Bocages is lesbocages.com.
American Scrap Metal is americanscrapmetal.com.
This one's obvious. Masturbate Online is masturbateonline.com.
Therapist in a Box is therapistinabox.com.
The Analemma Society has the URL analemma.org.
Winters Express is wintersexpress.com.
Swissbit has the URL swissbit.ch, which read together reads as Swissbitch.
Dixon Web is dixonweb.com.
Budget Cook Island is budget.co.ck or budgetcock.
The MP3's Hits website is mp3shits.com.
Choose Spain became choosepain.com.
PowerGen Italia is powergenitalia.com.
Now, the people who did this one must have been looking for it, because this is the Cumbria Storage Systems Company, and they have cumstore.co.uk.
You got a lot of disappointed customers there. Teachers Talking is teacherstalking.org.
The Ladrape bought the site, ladrape.com.
One of your favourites. Children's wear is childrenswear.co.uk. Old Man's Haven is oldmanshaven.com.
And finally, and as far as I'm concerned, the pièce de résistance is the Mole Station Nursery, which has molestationnursery.com.
Hi folks, Donald Trump here. If you want a terrific impression of me, I mean really terrific, like the one on the almost 30-minute quiz show, then don't get a low-energy loser, okay? You need Frank Falzone, a fantastic voiceover guy who I've known all my life, okay? He's great, terrific, great friend, really good guy. Frank is exclusively on Fiverr.com and will make your voiceover great again. Avoid your voiceover being a total disaster and win bigly with Frank Falzone, okay? He's terrific.
Welcome back to the almost 30-minute quiz show with him, Mark, and me, David. Mark, question number 4 for you. What is the name of the woman in charge of the handmaids in The Handmaid's Tale?
Oh, I watched the first series of that and then got thoroughly bored.
Isn't it a book?
Yeah, by Margaret Atwood.
Mm.
And they all had, the handmaids all had names of their owner. So if the owner was called Fred, they were called of Fred or off Fred.
Right.
So there was off Fred and off Dave and off Jimmy and...
Off what? Ofcom?
Yeah.
Off Tell?
Off Arthur.
Yes.
Uck off. There's a sinister woman that looked after them with a face like she was chewing a wasp. No, can't remember the name. Was she off something?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Apparently, she was called Lydia.
Ah.
Aunt Lydia.
Ah, yes. That's
With
right.
the aunt instead of off.
Yes, because she was like their manager, so she was everybody's auntie.
There you go.
And provided women for sex for infertile men.
And the reason that we're discussing Auntie is because we are reopening our Auntie box. That's the Agony Aunt column.
I'm glad you said that.
What? Reopening the box?
Your auntie's box.
Last time we were on, we got so much positive feedback for this section that we thought we'd do a few more. So we're going to read out some actual letters sent to Agony Aunts in newspapers and magazines. Some of them we will give you the actual responses that were published, and others we will try to make up as we go along.
And obviously this is a very serious section, people with problems, so we will treat it as seriously as we can and not burst out laughing halfway through.
Promise.
Last night I was naked and playing poker with my wife. A poker chip accidentally fell into her vagina. Are there any chances of pregnancy? These are genuine letters. To which the answer is, obviously you are a novice player. Stick to the table and ensure you do not swallow the chip either way, vagina or the gullet. A pregnancy will not occur. Chips do not contain sperm.
That's very serious, as you said. I am a 35-year-old man. God, I wish I was. I'm a 35-year-old man.
I don't want to be one of these people.
My wife has a strange habit of urinating in the tea she serves guests at our home. She says it gives her a kick. Though I was shocked at first, I've started enjoying it too. In fact, I do the same when making tea for guests. I've heard that drinking urine is not harmful. Is it safe to continue doing this? I'll give you the answer that was given.
How do you stir it, by the way?
This habit is unfair to your guests who do not get a kick from what you are inflicting on them. I don't know how the Agony Aunt knows that. Please do not invite me over. Yes, urine therapy is practiced, but it's done with the patient's consent.
I'm very worried about that chocolate log you served for dinner the other day. I am a 63-year-old married man. Are there any medicines to sexually excite a woman? I have a 50-year-old neighbour who could benefit from it as she has lost a desire to have sex. Do help. To which the answer was very briefly, her gynecologist can help her. I'm curious to know, why are you so concerned? Okay, I'm going to do another one.
Go on.
Because David's got all the good lines this week.
I did.
After
All
the molestation nursery.
All of mine to screw up. Yeah.
Okay. I'm now 43 years old. My wife believes that I'm having an extramarital affair. But it's not true. Every day she applies nail polish on my penis to check if I'm being unfaithful. I feel a burning sensation and it hurts me. Please help. It's a very unusual piece of detective work. If you have no objection to the tattoo mark on your penis, ask your wife to find another substance that won't burn, or convince her of your loyalty.
Oh. Now I want you to answer this one, Mark. It's long.
Is
And
that
not the, that's not the comment, yeah. Dear Mark, my boyfriend is the biggest chatterbox I've ever met, and what makes it worse is that on the rare occasions I do manage to get a word in edgeways, he stares at me vacantly, so it's clear he's not listening to a word I say. I want to dump him, but there's a weird reason I haven't. He's got a third nipple in the centre. He's got a third nipple in the centre of his rib cage. We're just getting going. When he takes his t-shirt off, his torso resembles a very kind-looking face. It's as though his regular nipples look like eyes, his additional nipple is a little nose, and his belly button a cute, surprised little mouth. Anyway, I've taken to calling this chest man Christopher, and when my boyfriend is sleeping, I have long, one-sided conversations with him about my feelings and what's happened during my day. Christopher's a great listener, and though he never responds, it's clear he oozes compassion and sympathy. I've even started to develop strong sexual feelings for Chris and taken to kissing his mouth or belly button when my boyfriend is snoring heavily. I realised things had gotten out of hand when I became frantic one morning last week after spotting some belly button fluff in my boyfriend's navel. "Take it out!" I screamed. "Christopher's choking!" What should I do?
I think that's perfectly normal. I would worry more about Christopher's goatee that he's got, and he's got a growth coming out of his goatee. And finally, question number 5. Which soup is the cure for all ills?
Right, it's got to be what Jewish mums give their kids.
Oxtail.
Oxtail, no, pork.
Mulligatawny.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Cream of bacon soup.
What to call it? Matzo ball soup. Chicken soup.
Chicken soup.
Chicken soup.
Correct. So we're talking about chicken soup because of our "And Finally" story. And we're back in Britain today. All the weird stories are coming from Britain today. A Bradford man has pleaded guilty to having sex with chickens.
Just spit it out, as it were.
With his wife capturing the act on video. Halima Baig, 37, appeared in the dock alongside her husband Rayhan for a hearing before a judge at Bradford Crown Court this morning. During today's hearing, Rahim Baig entered guilty pleas to a total of 11 charges, including 3 of performing an act of penetration on chickens. He also admitted downloaded indecent images of children, possessing extreme pornographic images relating to sex acts with dogs and chickens, and drug offences. However, Mr. Baig claimed that it was all a cock-up on the police side, whereas the prosecutor claimed that the conviction was a real feather in her cap.
And the wife is currently organising a hen party for after his release. Ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely 2 weeks. We'll see you on our anniversary show.
Yes, happy anniversary next time.